It was with great sadness that earlier this week we learnt that our very good friend and club member John Seward had sadly passed away at the age of 76 years. John joined Warley MRC in the early 80s. He was then an 00 gauge modeller, modelling the British Rail trains of the period. He went to the Quinbourne exhibition in December 1987 and purchased an 00 gauge wagon. The rest is history, as he pursued an interest in 00 gauge modelling from then onwards for a period of some 33 years. John set about building his 00 gauge layouts using the West Midlands in the mid-1930s as his chosen prototype. In this way he was able to run trains from the Great Western Railway and the London Midland and Scottish Railway. He built several layouts in his workshop and garage and around his garden. In total, he built something like 35 locomotives, 20 coaches and over 300 wagons. John would be the first to admit that his stock were not museum quality, but rather they were built to perform on his layout. And perform well they certainly did. In addition, John built an American 016.5 narrow gauge layout down the side of his workshop, although this was never fully completed. John also built one exhibition layout, which was an Irish County Donegal Joint Railway prototype INVA. This went to many shows, and the cry of "let's have another rail car" was often heard from the operators of the layout at those exhibitions. John's favourite loco class was the Great Western Railway Mogul 260, of which he had a very fine model. His best model constructed was probably his LMSR Garrett, with 2 motors, 2 decoders, capable of hauling a prototypical length train of 100 wagons. John soon became active after he joined Warley Model Railway Club. When the decision was made to move the exhibition from the Harry Mitchell Centre to the National Exhibition Centre in 1992, John jumped at the chance to become the marketing manager for the event, a position he held for some 15 years, and in many ways was instrumental in ensuring the success of the event. Prior to that, he had the discussion with Bachmann that led them to becoming the first sponsor of the Warley shows in, if I remember correctly, 1990. Following his term as marketing manager, he went on to become exhibition manager's assistant and to run the database. nothing was ever too much trouble for John in the organisation of the exhibition. Regular visitors to the show may remember John, as he was normally to be found on the information stand, dealing with all manners of queries regarding the exhibition. Away from the exhibition committee, he was also the building manager for the new club room in Pearsall Drive, Oldbury, from when we moved into the building in 2005 until 2 years ago. John also was involved with organisation of events on behalf of the Gay Joe Guild. He was involved in the first few years of the Guildex event held at the Telford International Centre. He became the Guildex trade officer, dealing with the many O-Gauge traders who attended that annual exhibition of the Gay Joe Guild. He served for a time on the Gay Joe Guild board in the trade role.
Here are some tributes to John posted by fellow club members. Warley Club and the hobby in general will miss his presence. His forthright manner was invariably tempered by the joy of banter and word play. Let's be thankful for John's life and the fact that we were all very privileged to know him as a friend. Great bloke. R.I.P. Top Shed John. John was a very skilled modeller who was always happy to share his experiences. I learnt a lot from you, John. Thank you. Along with many others, I first met John at the Harry Mitchell many years ago, and he was a great character, always welcoming and ready to help. A true gentleman, always an absolute pleasure to deal with. We shall miss him. Sad days. I first met John in 1977 at the Harry Mitchell Centre. We hit it off immediately and have had some great times together. He was known by the lads from Leeds as Mr. Murphy due to his love of Irish narrow gauge. We had some good times together and some good disagreements, but never any lasting animosity. He was there when I managed to set the alarm off a couple of times. I will miss John very much. I was very shocked to read the sad news of John's passing. He helped the junior section of the club a lot with his vast knowledge when we first started, and helped my two lads after they first joined the club. You always knew where you stood with John, and he would put you right if you needed it. I, for one, will miss his immense presence. My sincere condolences to his family.
I have known John for over 45 years. The club and the hobby will miss his expertise, humour and presence. So long, old friend. It has been a pleasure to know you.
Warley Model Railway Club and the hobby have lost a man with a big heart, a true gentleman, an excellent modeller who was known to many around the country, who was prepared to give of his time to assist any modeller with a problem in any scale or gauge. And he will be greatly missed, not only within Warley Model Railway Club, but elsewhere, where he was often found demonstrating his expertise. Our sincere condolences go to his wife Janet, his sons John and Gareth, and their families. We will miss you, John. Rest in peace. As well as John, over the last few months, Warley Model Railway Club has lost several other long-standing members, and we would also like to remember them in this tribute. John Davey joined the club in the early 1990s and was an 00 modeller. In recent times, his mobility was seriously impaired, but he enjoyed coming to the club to run some of his collection of Great Western Railway 4mm 00 models on the club layouts. John Barron was a skilled model maker who ran the successful Warley MRC charity link for many years. Through his leadership, the monies raised at the NEC exhibitions and elsewhere enabled over 300 nebulizers to be forwarded to various institutions, primarily where they were needed to support young people. Bob Hindley was a relatively new member of the club, having joined 7 or 8 years ago. He committed himself fully to all our activities and could always be relied upon when the call went out for support for any matter concerning the club, and formed an integral part of the tableclothing team at our NEC exhibition. All these members will be greatly missed by the club, and our sincere condolences go out to their families. We will miss you all.